Yep. Sorry. It's 6 p.m.
Quiet coyote.
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, the republic for which it stands, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Thank you. 6 o'clock. Thanks for coming out. Tuesday, 23rd. Anyone would like to speak to us? This is not your only time. Reach out anytime with anything to say. We'll be happy. We're here. Email works best for everyone, but also a call or coming to the meetings or find us in public. Not seeing any. We have 2 items on the consent calendar, our school board meeting minutes from September 9th and their policy committee minutes from September 15th. What's the wish of the board to adopt the consent calendar as presented?
I motion to adopt the consent calendar.
Yeah.
I motion to adopt the consent calendar as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Wonderful. Moving to our reports this evening. Our first report, 4.1, is our student representative report. Welcome, Talia.
Hi. So to start it off, Somersworth High School is very excited for this year's Pumpkin Fest, which will be held on Saturday, October 11th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m., where many clubs and groups have tables and sell many different kinds of goods. This week is Somersworth High School Fall Spirit Week, which all leads to our Friday pep rally and class color battle between the classes. Our annual homecoming dance will be held on Saturday, the 27th, at Somersworth High School. Fall sports have officially started, and in accordance with the personal communication devices are prohibited from bell to bell in Somersworth High School District, and it's all going very well. Everyone is now settled in with their one-to-one Chromebooks, which is also going very well. And new clubs are being implemented, such as the hiking club from Superintendent Shea, and also philosophy club and a few others. And National Honor Society is now accepting applications, which will be all due Friday the 26th. And that is all I have for a report.
Wonderful. Yeah, stick around. We kind of have our presentation this evening's kind of for our kind of district vision is wonderful to be able to have your insight on and bring it back to your peers as well. So yes, Board Member Clark.
Can I ask a question? Talia, can you tell me if you've heard of any of your classmates having issues with their laptops?
There have been like a few issues that I've heard where even from staff members, we've heard that upperclassmen are getting the, like, I don't know better ways to say it, but worse Chromebooks, ones that aren't as well refurbished because they are leaving sooner than, say, the freshmen, which does make it harder for certain assignments that do require, I guess, more complex websites and applications. Or for the first 2 weeks, a lot of things were blocked due to the new implementation of all the Chromebooks and everything, and safety regulations. Everything was blocked at first, so it made it very hard for certain students to access certain things that are necessary for their work.
Thank you.
I can let you know briefly, too, that as part of my superintendent's report, Kat was going to do an update on tech rollout, including some of the refurbished laptops we're working on.
Okay, great.
We're aware of it.
All right. All right, moving on to our city council update. Councilor Parity Catanzaro, welcome.
Thank you. I have no report. I wasn't able to attend the last city council meeting, but I don't think there was anything of large connection to the school board there.
No, no worries. Okay, thank you. Our next full report is in October from our BA, so we'll turn it over to the superintendent report.
I have, there's 3 bullet points on the agenda, but I have a total of 7 items I'm going to focus on, and then our assistant superintendent will give an update on the tech rollout and a little bit on iReady assessments as well. I would like to propose a merger between the Philosophy Club and the hiking club, if that's possible. So if you could look into that. First, go well together. Superintendent's Forum on Tuesday, September 30th at 6 p.m. at Idlehurst. Flyers are posted, building administrators are helping to spread the word, and I will send a school messenger alert to all families this evening with the flyer about it and the reminder. There does happen to be, it's hard to get everything scheduled on separate nights, so there's a ESOL family night that night at 5:30 at Mulligan's. I'll get to talk to those folks at 5:30, and I'm going to encourage them to prioritize the ESOL family night. The Superintendent's Forum, as was discussed earlier, there will be 3 of these a year. I will always encourage families and parents to prioritize teachers and principals and building level folks first, but to provide these opportunities, aside from emailing and calling, scheduling appointments 3 times a year, just to kind of hear what's going on, check in. I'll always present updates on things that are happening in a timely manner, and this one will fall nicely with the mission, values, purpose statement that we're considering will be on the agenda. And I recognize that we'll get 3 to 5 people at some of these, and maybe we'll get 25, 30, or 40 at others. We had a big turnout when we did one last spring, which was partly budget and partly other things going on. But that's coming. Number 2, just a update on the 2 different lawsuits that the school district is participating in. One against the federal government and the U.S. Department of Education related to some anti-diversity, anti-equity, anti-inclusion executive orders and a Dear Colleague letter that came from the federal government and the Trump administration early on. These cost the school district nothing to participate in. In some ways, they're very helpful because we're part of a team of lawyers that are guiding districts throughout the state. That one is still pending, and the lawyers are still working for hopefully a summary judgment, but we did get an injunction early on, and it is still ongoing at this time. The second suit was against the state of New Hampshire, and that was again related to anti-diversity, anti-equity, anti-inclusion measures that put all of our state funding at risk. Remind the general public and the community that we will not put our money at risk, and when push comes to shove, we will do what we need to do to both stand on our values and assure that the funds are there. But the U.S. District Court judge that heard that case granted a temporary restraining order ahead of the deadline for certifying that we were not doing anything that was diversity, equity, or inclusion included. I would suggest that diversity is who we are, equity is fundamental to public education, as is inclusion. So how you certify that you're not doing these things, including special education program, I'm not quite sure. There was a temporary restraining order issued through September 18th, and then a second temporary restraining order that came out on September 18th, extending it to October 3rd. So we're hoping to get either a true injunction or something more significant between now and, I say September 3rd, October 3rd, extended to October 3rd. So just want to make folks aware of that. I shared with the juniors and seniors last Friday, among other things, that we were participating in these lawsuits because I wanted the students to know, particularly in light of the Indonesian festival being canceled. The 12th annual festival was canceled, and it was read in the newspaper that there were concerns about safety and that even individuals with proper documentation were at risk by simply coming to the high school and the middle school and participating in that event. Hopefully it will be rescheduled for later in the year. But given that, and then of course the murder on Thursday of conservative activists and everything that happened in the wake of that, and the ugliness around it and the difficulties around it, it was just a check-in to assure the older students in our district, the leaders in our district. I reminded them that they outnumber the adult leaders in this district by a significant portion. I wanted to reassure them where their district stood on some very basic ideas, and that we're here for all of them, regardless. As long as you're a Somersworth resident, you come to our schools, you are here for free, and you will get our support to get a good education. Number 3, June graduation planning. The high school administration, I mentioned this last time, has been working with the Dome folks, the hub. It's actually the New England hub, but everybody calls it the Dome. Somersworth graduate that founded it and runs it. And it's looking like we probably will be able to lock it in at a comparable cost to UNH, and feedback, preliminary just sense is that this would be an exciting thing to try. And we'll give it a go. And we also now are in a place where we can lock in graduation a lot earlier. State stipulations about seniors need to be in school for a certain amount of time have been lifted, and we're no longer negotiating with Oyster River, Dover, other schools. Rochester's now in the mix at UNH as well.
Oh, John, just a quick question.
yep.
What's been lifted? The, like, requirements for how many days they have to be in school or have
How
completed?
early
for-
they could be has been waived, yeah.
Okay.
So obviously, we don't want to be having, well, Talia might disagree, but we don't want seniors graduating in March or April. But to be able to lock in a date that makes sense without regard for a last-minute snow date, we got good plans and good solid, yeah, we have a little more leeway.
Still June.
It's still June.
Okay, okay.
Don't worry. Friday, June 5th might be the date we're looking at. We'll bring that to school board and we'll discuss. Number 4, just a heads up, there's a program called Gear Up, which you learned about last school year in one of our school board meetings. This is a U.S. Department of Education federally funded program through the state of New Hampshire that basically focuses on giving students, particularly lower income students that qualify for Title I or in districts that have a significant number of low income students and might have a larger number of first-generation college goers, to focus on a cohort of students from 8th grade and 9th grade all the way through to graduation, on college readiness, on college possibilities, post-secondary education in general, 2-year schools, the whole gamut, about being prepared. And what's really nice, it costs us nothing, and we have a human being with us, individual last year and individual now this year, young, energetic, full-time, dedicated to this proposal, working with us on the curriculum. That has been cut, pulled right out from underneath us, part of just federal funding. Effective September 30th, it's done. I do believe our congressional delegation, U.S. congressional delegation, is taking it up. I don't know how hopeful we should feel about any of this being undone or changed, or whether the state might do anything to step in. But in that spirit, Senator Maggie Hassan is visiting the middle school and the high school tomorrow afternoon, specifically to see Gear Up and specifically to talk to us about Gear Up and draw some attention and publicity to this happening.
Yeah, Board Member Jameson.
What's like the functional impact of this on people? Like how many students does this hit? Obviously, it hits a full-time staff member, right?
So about 200 students involved in the program right now. I would argue the whole high school through 8th grade, to some extent or another, are benefiting from this. There's a fully funded individual who works for Gear Up, young, terrific, connecting with kids, doing an amazing job, who effectively loses her job September 30th. We've already begun conversations, given we have unfilled positions, whether there's not ways we creatively keep her on board or not. But if it goes through.
Clarity, John, you said 200 students in Somersworth.
Correct.
Yeah, because I saw headlines for 5,000 students statewide, but 200 out of
That's basically 8th and 9th graders would be the focal point right now. But arguably the whole high school and the 8th grade, which is closer to 500 students, are benefiting in some regard or another. And this is only the second year of what was intended to be a cohort that saw these students all the way through to graduation.
And the staff member that was responsible for this was being paid through the program.
Yes.
So not through our.
Correct.
Okay.
Which is, the whole thing is unfortunate. There's about 10 districts in the state participating. So we're one of the districts participating within the state, and cut statewide, though, if it goes through. Number 5, there was a tremendous outpouring, crossing guard Joanne, that I think is about as beloved as a crossing guard gets. There are pretty beloved crossing guards all around this country, and she's probably in the top 10. Many folks are aware that she was hospitalized just overnight, released quickly. It was an accident that happened while she was on duty. There was concerns that something happened that shouldn't have happened, but it was a simple accident. She returned to work Friday. She was out Monday for a doctor's appointment, but she's back and hanging in there. And it says a lot about this district that everybody knew about it right off the bat. And schools, the outpouring from the schools, folks that were checking in with her, the police department was in the same camp. So Joanne, welcome back, and we'll take good care. She needs to take good care, we'll take good care, and we'll make sure this doesn't happen again. Sure.
Just same thing. I think Joanne is responsible for hundreds, if not thousands, of student safety, and it's one of the first people that kids see throughout the day. I wave all the time, hopefully not distractingly so, but I just wanted to kind of relay best wishes, because when someone is hurt and goes down, and especially in our small community, people know about it and people care. So that was really nice to say. So Joanne, we're thinking about you, and we'll wave to you non-distractingly on High Street, on Maple Street, and yeah, thank you.
Thank you. And I lied, I don't have 7 things, I have 6 things. So the last one before I turn it over to Kat. Various school board members have gotten updates about this in various forums, committees, and meeting with the board chair and vice chair as well. But we received notice, our business administrator, Ms. Kraus, received the notice officially today. Not a discussion item today, but it'll be a big discussion item at a future board meeting, probably the next one to begin with. But just to make it really clear, what we expected was going to be happening later this month is School Care is our insurance provider for our district and many other districts in the state affiliated with Cigna. And in good years, they, if they have a surplus, they give us a premium holiday, which means we get money back, and that goes to both the district and to our teachers and staff. In a bad year, which we have not had one in 30 years or in their existence, we get a bill. So we will be, it's called an assessment. This is happening to all districts. This has nothing to do with Somersworth or the health of our staff or financial or accounting. This is a statewide matter for all districts that are part of School Care. We'll be sharing in this assessment. The assessment totals about $30 million. Our share of that will be significant. I told you earlier, I think it would probably be under $1 million, but probably more than 500,000. And we expect it'll be somewhere around 640,000. We'll be getting that notice in about a week. It is due immediately, but arrangements are already clear and in writing that we will have this school year into middle of July, which effectively gives us this school year and next school year to pay it. So at this point, it's a heads up, and we will be at a future meeting very soon kind of grappling with ways to do this and how to get it done.
Board Member Clark?
So can you speak to why this may be happening? Like what caused this assessment?
It is actually a national issue that we're just playing out, but everybody's been concerned about healthcare costs rising for decades now, but over the last several weeks, there's been Washington Post, New York Times, PBS NewsHour doing stories on spikes that are getting significant due to pent-up demand for healthcare post-COVID that's still playing out, that folks are going to the doctor more, arguably due to the fact that claims that should have been honored all along and approved are being approved at a greater rate, given some of the attention that came about after the United Healthcare executive was murdered. And basically, we have a healthcare system that has been in need of repair for decades and has not been repaired. To various degrees, we've tried different things, and it may be sneaking up with us. So effectively, the number of claims that people have put in for and that have been approved is way beyond what School Care had projected on. They do their best to estimate where things will fall, and it's well ahead of that. And given the nature of the organization, when costs run lower, they give us the money back, and when costs run higher, which hasn't happened ever in their existence, this is going to hit everybody.
Not just here.
It is.
It's over, yeah.
Yeah.
Jameson?
I know it's not discussion. Can I just add one more point that I've picked up? It sounds like School Here too is like the second or third like health conglomerate thingy. Thank you, risk pool. Thank you. That this has happened to, so they've actually held on longer, I think, than some of the other ones. So that's nice.
That's the last one. Oh, of course, yeah.
Good on that for now, and I know that's a lot, but we wanted to get word to you because it is going to be spreading, and you're going to be hearing about it, and there's nothing we can do right now other than we'll be looking aggressively at different ways to do this. We'll need to connect with the city and every possible partner that could assist us through dealing with this over the next year or two, or both. Lastly, I just wanted to ask our Assistant Superintendent, Kat Crosby, to, given some questions that have been brought up, not just this evening but earlier, just on how the tech rollout is going, and maybe a bit, if it makes sense, Kat, to touch on the iReady assessment system, which is separate from technology but wrapped into it.
Thanks, John. I just wanted to give an overview of some of the bigger initiatives that we have rolled out since late spring, early summer into this school year. The first that's been mentioned tonight, the one-to-one at the high school. So on September 10th, the Somersworth High School launched its first ever one-to-one initiative. Every student received a Chromebook that they will use throughout their high school career. These devices are used both in class and at home, giving students access to assignments, projects, and resources whenever they need them. Having a dedicated device for every student empowers teachers to design more engaging lessons, offer differentiated instruction, and provide students with access to essential online resources. Though still in the very early stages, the response has been overwhelmingly positive, and we are excited to see how this initiative continues to transform instruction and student learning. Interactive clear touch displays at the middle school. This summer, 17 instructional spaces at Somersworth Middle School were equipped with interactive clear touch displays. These powerful tools allow teachers to move from simply presenting information to creating interactive, hands-on learning experiences. Clear touch displays allow teachers to actively engage students through touch, drawing, and annotation features, model thinking in real time by writing or demonstrating problem-solving strategies, seamlessly integrate multimedia, videos, websites, and apps into lessons, encourage collaboration with multi-touch functionality for group work, save and share notes digitally with students for review, differentiate instruction with apps and tools tailored to varied learning needs, and connect student devices allowing learners to share their work directly to the display. In addition, these displays provide access to a library of more than 250,000 lessons across subject areas, further enriching instruction. We also installed 5 clear touch displays at Idlehurst Elementary School, extending these benefits to our younger learners. Chromebooks and iPads at Idlehurst Elementary. To support personalized and differentiated learning in grades K through 2, we purchased iPads and Chromebooks for Idlehurst classrooms. Each room now has enough devices for small groups, ensuring students can engage in personalized pathways when not in whole class instruction. This allows teachers to provide targeted support in areas identified for growth. Meanwhile, with the high school's one-to-one rollout, devices were reallocated so that Somersworth Middle School is also now one-to-one. Although these devices remain at school, they greatly expand opportunities for differentiation, engagement, and access to personalized learning pathways. Supporting iReady implementation. So one of the most significant impacts of these technology investments has been the successful launch of our first year with the iReady diagnostic. With expanded device access, students are able to take the diagnostic efficiently and without interruption, work on individualized learning pathways created from their results, and build critical skills to close learning gaps. For teachers, iReady also offers a robust library of resources to supplement core instruction. And while we are still in the early stages of this rollout, we are confident in the positive impact it will have on student growth and achievement. So looking ahead, these technology investments mark a significant step forward for our district. They not only provide students and teachers with the tools they need today, but also lay the foundation for ongoing innovation, engagement, and success in the years ahead. And to speak to the concern that was brought up around the devices, when you order 460 Chromebooks, you do expect that some might come and not be working the way you want them to. So there was a plan for that, in that we have an overflow amount. So any student that had a Chromebook that wasn't functioning properly had access to a working device while their device was being fixed. Some were quick, easy fixes that our tech team in the district was able to take care of right away, and others were sent back for repair. So every student is able to have a device, and there's not an issue where we don't have enough for students because of the some that came not working correctly.
I do have a quick question. Like, I'm glad that you're receiving some positive feedback. I have received some negative, but it sounds like we're addressing all of that. And then you said that the kids that were having issues with theirs, they can come to the office.
Yeah, the high school's laid out a really nice plan for that. So they actually go to the library. The library has the overflow. They can sign out a loaner. And then theirs is assigned a ticket for technology to take a look at and see what the issue is. Some of it might be just an update that was needed that wasn't installed, or something that's an easy fix. If it's something that needs to be sent back, we do have the warranty with the company. We send them back, they get fixed and then sent back to us. But there's no downtime in between because we have that overflow.
So I did have some parents reach out to me and say that when they received their laptop, it was broken, and then they were told that if they were sent out, they would be given the bill. Is that accurate? Okay.
That is not accurate. No. Oh, no.
Okay.
So we have a warranty, actually a good warranty with this company. So if something is broken, if it came that way and it wasn't working when they got it, we send it back to be fixed. So yes, if it came that way.
Sounds like we're going to work through this, hopefully.
Yeah, and overwhelmingly, in speaking with the administration over there, and it's been a positive rollout. I was there for distribution day, and it was pretty seamless to get 400 and some odd devices out to the students. It happened in about an hour, so it was a great process, and overwhelmingly, the feedback we've gotten has been positive.
Great. All right. Thank you. All right, moving on from our report outs to our committee updates. I believe we have policy, and do we have personnel negotiations? Just an update on timing or anything? Just any other committee updates?
Yeah, I mean, so we're in the process of negotiating. I can't really share anything. So
Yeah, that's whatever committees have met, just to say like we've met and
we've met several times. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we're actively meeting.
Okay, great. Anyone else for committees? I don't believe so. I think it's just policy. So Board Member Prescott, take it away. Thank you.
The policy committee has met twice so far this semester, if you will. We have planned our meetings through the month of December, I believe. We went through several policies that will be first reading this evening. One's related to summer activities, the New Hampshire Parental Bill of Rights, instructional resources, change of class assignments, and manifest hardship. And yeah, we're chugging away at all of our policies, and I think we have a lot to go. That's the update.
Okay, thank you. All right, and then with, I believe we'll go over some upcoming meetings on agenda item 10 for scheduling. But right now, it's our time for a presentation. I think.
I was going to do it as new business, and since it's
Oh.
not working, if we want to do policy.
Oh, of course, let's do the policies first. Yep, absolutely. Sorry. Yep, down there, new business presentation. All right. Yeah, Board Member Prescott, if you can read our first readings by, I need a motion to read them by title only, unless we want to read them word for word.
I motion to read by title only.
I second.
Okay, all in favor say aye. Aye. All right, thank you.
7.1 AB, New Hampshire Parental Bill of Rights. 7.2 IHCA, Summer Activities. 7.3 IJ, Instructional Resources Plan.
Okay, any questions about any of these policies? Yep.
Sorry, I just want to make sure that it's to the public, that this is out for the public to view, and if they have any questions, they can reach out to the board members, and then we can bring it to discuss. Okay.
Anything of note of a major, I know that required by law and kind of a
Yeah.
simplified.
The only thing to note that I really think should be mentioned is the Parental Bill of Rights was very in line with what we already had in our policies. I was worried that it was going to unintentionally target students who are LGBTQ or something like that. But after reviewing the policy very closely, we don't have, our hands are tied with it, first of all, but it was very in line with our policy that we already had in place. So I felt more comfortable about it after that. But other than that,
Okay.
that was one thing to note.
All right, great. So these will be for second read in our October meeting. Agenda item 8 and 8.1 are student enrollment approvals for our 25-26 school year, just to be able to have this be, the official board vote on our out-of-district and international students. Yep.
Thank you. So we discussed this in non-public at last meeting, so just as a matter of formal approval, I would like to ask if we have a motion and a second and a vote to allow one student whose family is moving out of district this fall, to allow a student in their final year to graduate from Somersworth High School. No marginal cost impact to this district, just want to stress when we keep a student in a scenario such as this. And we accepted 2 foreign exchange students over the summer, as has been practice when there are students out there. Again, no marginal cost impact to the district, and a big plus in bringing that diversity and cultural experience to our district. So we just wanted to formally get board approval on those 3 students.
Great. Yep. So per board policy for a non-resident student and our foreign exchange students, we haven't had many of them. Would love to be welcoming to more students to come to Somersworth. I believe I've met both. We're a small school, so welcome them here. But per board policy, we need to just vote to approve these students in here officially. So I'm looking for a vote to accept our non-resident and exchange students into our district for the school year.
I motion to accept our non-residents and exchange students for the school year.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? Got it? No? All right. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right. Nice. Noted. Thank you. Now, time for our superintendent's 9.1 presentation.
We are hopeful that it'll work. So most of this is a reminder for the board of directors, for the school board, sorry, for the school board. Is that a promotion? So most of this is a reminder for the school board, but also just to have a record for the public that is here, for the public that might be watching, and we'll have the video that's out there for anybody else that wants to look at it, to do a quick review of how we got here. We started last summer with the school board and the administrators at the district level, began the exercise of, do we have a tight, clear, district-wide mission, values, purpose statement that guides how we live day to day? And we have lots of good things in place, but there was an agreement that we need to look harder at this. And remember, we tackled this started tackling this last summer. A lot in the world has changed between last summer and now. And I would argue that a tight mission, values, purpose statement is important to any organization. I would say a school district in particular, in any times, but in the environment that we are in now, I would suggest it is absolutely critical and urgent to have a clear sense of who we are, what we're about, and why we do what we do, to weather some of the things that are going on around us at this time. The process since last summer has included a fair bit of work. I think shoehorned is the right word for this, because there wasn't really a place or a home for it, but the administrative team at the district has worked with this multiple times. The entire district has, on 2 or 3 occasions, come together to kind of talk about this. Kat and I visited each of the faculty meetings to process this. There's been 2 surveys at the faculty and staff level to make sure everybody was heard. Community forums, of which there were 3 in the fall and 2 after that. One fairly well attended, which was also about the budget. The others not well attended, but the important thing was to provide those opportunities. There was also a survey released to parents and families that wanted to participate. I knew that would probably be a low percentage return rate, but we did get a handful of folks completed that and provided feedback. I believe we've found a fair balance between not getting bogged down in process, but making sure that everybody's that's interested has had a voice and some input, and that leaders have taken responsibility for guiding and getting this thing through to bring us to where we are today, which is to consider the draft that I'm about to show you, most of which is very familiar. It's just been cleaned up a little bit and tightened up a little bit, with the intent that the school board chair and vice chair have suggested that maybe the school board might be ready to approve and finalize this in October. We have 2 school board meetings in October, and I will certainly make this a focal point of the superintendent's forum on September 30th for those who attend, and also just throw it open for folks, including 3 or 4 individuals that are with us here today or that might be watching, to reach out to us and give us your thoughts. Last reminder before we dive into the document. So we've been calling this thing the one-page guiding mission, purpose, values, et cetera, guiding document, North Star-like thing, which is not a very catchy name. And so we don't really know exactly what we should call it, but what we've settled on at the moment is the Hilltopper Promise. And basically, this is our one-page guiding mission, purpose, values, which everybody in the district knows and guides how we operate and make decisions. Doesn't just sit on a shelf anywhere. It's a one-page document. The second one-page document, which is already done, and we're fleshing that out and in process, is, okay, if this is what we're about, number 2, how do we share with the community and the school board and ourselves how we're doing on that? So we have focused on, and if you measure everything, you effectively measure nothing. So we do measure a lot of things, but we want to be clear about what rises to the top. And this document, which we won't talk about tonight, is in place. You've seen it before. It measures 4 key domains: presence, namely attendance, but we also want to look at enrollment. We have close to 100 families that live in Somersworth right now collecting education freedom accounts and opting for other opportunities, and we need to know that, and we need to know how we stand both on how we're doing with the kids that are enrolled and ourselves, and faculty, staff, right up to the SAU office. How good are we doing at showing up every day and staying healthy? Number 2 is climate and culture, which is going to be a combination of PBIS, data, a combination of out-of-school suspension data, a combination of office referral data, and survey data, asking students regularly and routinely in the same format. The two fundamental things are you engaged? Do you have a sense that what you're doing here is important, measured in a couple different ways, and are you safe? Are you comfortable? Are you respected in this environment? And not a whole lot different for faculty and staff. Do you have clear and high expectations, and are you supported, and are you part of a strong community? Third of the key domains will be learning. Should be first, but you got to show up and you got to be in a good climate and culture, and then we look at learning. And iReady is going to be absolutely central to how we measure learning moving forward. And if it hasn't been the case in the past, I think we're moving towards a place where anybody on the school board would know where we are and how we're doing on reading, writing, and mathematics across the district. We want to be really clear about that, and we want the community to have a sense of how we're doing and how we're improving. Fourth and lastly is matriculation or graduation data. We want 100% of our students graduating, and we want 100% of them graduating with a plan that they feel good about. A plan that they feel good about. For some students, that a 4-year college, for some students, a 2-year college, for some students, it's work. It could be, but it's a thoughtful plan that they and their family, their parents and guardians, feel good about. The third and last key piece of this is, okay, if this is what we're all about, this is how we're going to measure it. Third, how do we get there? A lot of this is already happening, and we're going to be working in the program committee of the school board between now and December, January, February to wrap that up and kind of say, okay, what are our priorities? And if we have 1,000 priorities, I would argue we have none. What are the ones that rise to the top of the list? So that's context. The document that you have in front of you or in your packet is this one. Now we just want to focus on this aspect by aspect. The name, this is all draft at this point until the board says final, done, whatever, but after calling it the mission, values, purpose, guiding document, et cetera, for quite some time, we've kind of played around with some ideas, and I will tell you, I didn't come up with this, but I love it, and it's kind of sunk in. The Hilltopper Promise both captures our pledge and our commitment to this community, and the secondary meaning of hopefulness, the promise of this community, the bright future that is in our Proud Past, Bright Future statement. And the name is the least important part of the document, but it's important, because I want it to stand out, and I want us to be thinking about families that are considering going other places with their kids and or moving to this area and looking at Dover and Rochester and surrounding areas and where do I want my kids to be at school. I would hope this document and what we're about would be one of the reasons they would choose Somersworth. I am going to read this because this is important. This is our statement at the top of the Hilltopper Promise. Includes most of what you've already seen, and then some things that have been added, which we probably treated as obvious, but probably merits coming right out and saying. The mission of the Somersworth School District is to educate, care for, and inspire our students from pre-K through high school graduation. The partnership's part's important, in partnership with our students' families, local organizations, businesses, and the greater community. It takes a village. Our schools are open to the children of all Somersworth residents, free of tuition, without regard for income, race, ethnicity, religion, political affiliation, disability, gender, or sexual orientation. This is not an attempt to poke an eye in folks that are suggesting legislation counter to this, but it is standing true on what I would suggest are very common basic values to any public education system, and we should be strong on those. We embrace the diversity of our community, provide equitable opportunities for all students, and include everyone. That's the opening statement. Anybody interrupt me when you like, or if we want to talk about it afterwards, but I just want to make sure every piece of this is clear to everybody.
Yeah, if there's any questions, just kind of raise your hand and call on you during it. Yep.
We want to be clear about why we're educating our students in tangible terms, and in tangible terms that will then actually ripple into how we organize and think about curriculum. which in that third part, strategic priorities, is one of them, which is kind of outlining a detailed, clear, well-documented curriculum from pre-K through high school graduation. Career and vocation. These are not in order. There are three primary purposes side by side in front of you in the document. We prepare our students with the skills, knowledge, and habits to attain and thrive in meaningful and fulfilling work, providing for their own financial security and contributing to a sustainable U.S. and global economy. Citizenship community. We prepare our students with comparable to preparing for work. We prepare our students with the skills, knowledge, and habits for meaningful and fulfilling participation in civic life, locally and beyond, serving their own interests, the greater good, and a vibrant American democracy. Preparation for participation in our economy and finding meaningful, fulfilling work. Preparation for meaningful participation in our democracy and finding meaning and fulfilling in being an active and engaged citizen, a member of our community. And then the thing that comes up all the time that never really makes it to this level, the life and daily essentials that parents regularly talk about, and we all regularly talk about, but it never quite seems to find a home in the curriculum. We prepare our students with the skills, knowledge, and habits to productively navigate their way in this world with a focus on health and well-being, financial matters, health insurance, housing, utilities, transportation, technology, things that kind of ripple in at the edge really should be central. And then the clause at the bottom, which is a note, this is an important one. Board Chair Larson reminded me that the then Governor Sununu actually articulated something quite similar as governor of the state. And we talked about it a summer ago, summer of 2020, what is this, 2025, summer of 2024, that nobody's the cavalry's not coming to tell us where we're going or what we're doing. It is us. We are wrapped up in a lot of regulations and a lot of bureaucracy that comes from the state and that comes from the feds without enough money, but not partly by design and partly by the complications of 2- and 3-year cycles of politics and direction. There's not leadership of any meaning there. So our district abides by required New Hampshire state curricular standards and all applicable federal, state, and local laws. That's a given. And if we find any of them offensible, we will fight them appropriately, as we are doing right now with 2, both at the state and federal level. But we have to abide by the New Hampshire state curricular standards, and we have to abide by federal, state, and local laws. But our guiding mission will always remain grounded in our locally established Hilltopper promise and the values of the Somersworth community. Those things would be the bedrock solid through the 2- and 3-year cycles of state politics, federal politics, now this, now that, with rarely ever much leadership. And that's not a criticism so much as the way it's designed.
Superintendent Jay, I think,
Yep.
just to circle back a little bit, it's the elected leaders that kind of impact your day-to-day, right? So the school board, we could create a curriculum. We could create something that would give voice to what our local values are and what people kind of come through. We still have that authority as local leaders, and I think that there's an overwhelm, but there's still such an ability and an agency to show up for our community and what the needs are, and that's really powerful. We still can do that. I mean, we haven't done so many bigger sweeps that we've liked because we've had to respond so much, and there's so much work in policy as a response to things changing, but there could be a policy that is just ours, that just represents us. So it's like that's a strong power. I just want to say that. Thanks.
And I appreciate you brought me back to the slide too, because I do want to remind people what's not in those 3 categories, and that's college readiness as a defining educational purpose. When students get to high school, they are making plans to go to 2-year schools, 4-year schools, military service, vocational schools, directly to work. So the skill sets embedded in this document are preparation for any plans you wish to make after high school graduation. And I would suggest that these are much more engaging and relevant. Yes, high school students get caught up in the college process and that planning process, but keeping them focused on the end game, what kind of work will be meaningful and fulfilling to me, How do I participate in our democracy? Do I have the skills to live my life in a productive and healthy way? Are the drivers? College is a step, but they will be prepared for college, and we have students going off to some of the most competitive in the country right now, and a whole variety of options that make sense for a whole variety of different students with different ambitions. This is pretty basic, but the 5 key skill sets developed by all students. Literacy skills is basically anything and everything involved in making sense of the world around you, comprehending the world around you. It's listening, it's reading, it's observation, and communicating, all the different ways we communicate, writing, speech, artistically, but literacy skills, all the various forms of building understanding and communicating effectively. Math skills, foundational arithmetic, probability, statistics, algebra, and geometry for all of our students. Advanced mathematics, like calculus for students that choose it. Oftentimes, districts fail to get the basics through to all students in the race to get students higher along the path than necessarily makes sense for all of them. But everybody should be able to do the basics upon graduation. Literacy skills and math skills will be the things that iReady, our central assessment tool, will be grounding in on and honing in on 3 times a year, so we know how our kids are doing, particularly on these 2 things throughout. Third, higher order thinking skills and habits, analysis, problem solving, creative reasoning, curiosity, and the scientific process. Also systems and methods of learning, so our kids graduate knowing how to learn, knowing how they learn is really important. Interpersonal skills and habits was not in the original draft. It kind of got folded into some of the other skills, but it really belongs by itself. This is the collaborative skills, the productive teamwork, leadership skills. I think everybody should aim for transformational leadership, and managing disagreements respectfully. And then finally, tech skills. Not that tech is the end-all and be-all, but we live in a world where students need to graduate with effective, healthy habits in technologies. And I would suggest also the selective use of various technologies, as we've all kind of grown over the last few decades to realize all in is not really the way to go. And thinking skills are important. Skills and habits to adapt to technological change. Obviously a big piece of it. Almost there. 5 core values, common sense, grounded. I think it's hard to talk about values in a public school system that is by definition secular and inviting of people of all faiths and no faiths at all, and that find their moral and ethical compasses in a variety of different places. But I believe these are 5 that are universal and common sense that we can all agree upon. Integrity at the top of the list in our words and in our actions. We want all of our schools to be rich in that culture, that you are honest with what you do and what you say. Care and compassion, kindness, focusing on the greater good, those around us, those far away. We take good care of one another as a fundamental principle. Inclusiveness, you're honest, you take good care of one another, but do you include everybody? Everyone is welcome and respected. They participate, they have a voice by design and in our day-to-day words and actions. Work ethic, hugely important. We are responsible, disciplined, hardworking, independent, resilient, tough. We do things well. We don't give up. That spirit. I think I would hope that everybody in the community would like all 5 of these. And arguably, this one could have been at the top, but it's also quite foundational, care of oneself. All of our students need to graduate knowing how important it is to take care of themselves, but also knowing how to take care of themselves, physically, mentally, emotionally, kind of the foundation for everything on top of it. And honing in on these 3 purposes, the 3 purposes, the 5 skill sets, and the 5 core values becomes a priority, and it becomes the focus of what we do. And you ask yourself day to day, how is what I'm doing connected to one of these things, and is there anything that we're missing? And other things will happen, but these are the non-negotiables that would be essential in the district. And then the final piece of this that we talked about was ensuring by design and instilling a culture in all of our schools of two things in equal parts: purposefulness and joy. In a district-wide culture infused with and built upon two shared aspirations: purposefulness cultivated via engagement, relevance, fulfilling work, rigorous and challenging studies, competitive exercises, and very clear and high expectations, appropriately high expectations, is where we breed purposefulness. And in the world that we live in, and all that our kids are struggling with, to overlook this one and not prioritize it, to me, would be a shame. But we need, and granted it happens every day, but to build the expectation as school leaders that we will see to it that joy is deliberately cultivated and routinely cultivated in all of our schools by design. Not that it doesn't happen in all kinds of spontaneous ways throughout every school day. Why are we here if we can't get this right as at a foundational level? And I would really stress, no, this doesn't replace math. No, this doesn't replace English. No, this doesn't replace anything. It's the underpinning for all the stuff that we do for folks that are worried about, let's get those skill sets right. Let's get them to graduation. This is how you do that. By people being healthy and having purpose and being engaged and finding joy in what they're doing on a regular basis. And the little line at the bottom doesn't get ahead of things, but it just shows the significance of this document, that it has got at the bottom a stamp that says, adopted by the Somersworth School Board in whatever form at whatever time on behalf of this district and community on such and such a date. This is not just a flyer. This is big. And I'm assuming our policy committee would look at this and say, okay, how do we put the parts of this that are applicable into policy? And the goal would be, we've spent a fair bit of time on this. There's some elements here that are a little bit new and language is new, but that hopefully we could get to a place in October where we're ready to say done. You can always revisit it, but the plan would be to try to do our best to get it right, at least for the foreseeable future. And that's it.
Board Member Clark.
Discussions. Okay.
Yes.
So I just want to say I like all of this. I like the design, I like the blue and gold and black. I think it represents Somersworth well there. There was some talk about like the Hilltopper promise wording. I know that Maggie had mentioned it too. Maybe changing some of it to like a little bit different instead of promise. I like North Star, like the Hilltopper North Star. I don't know, gets me jazzed up.
Yeah.
But guiding mission is also good, but something along those lines. A couple things I noticed on here too that just struck me is like we take good care of one another and we take good care of ourselves. Super important. So thank you for that. Thank you for this hard work. That's it. But I just want to make sure we look at the title, which is super important. Anyways, goodbye.
I think it's one of those things as kind of elective. I kind of got a little feedback. I can wait till my to be at the end. Board Representative Puckrin.
I just had a few questions about like certain aspects of it. Would we be changing or like implementing more things in schools to, I guess, abide by these more closely, such as like the care of oneself? And like, I know a lot of students have a hard time with burnout, especially with our long classes, and we have now a school policy where we aren't allowed to take walks during classes because that's taking too much of our like academic time, which is like one class after another with like a 10-minute break in between it is helpful of a 10-minute break, but I feel like having, I guess, motivation or like a break is more influential and more beneficial to other students and their learning abilities rather than sitting at a desk and having to be quiet while being lectured and doing assignments for an hour and 20 minutes.
No, that's exactly what I'd hope, Talia, that with these guiding documents in place, it would raise good conversations between students, student council, school administration about what students need and figuring those things out together and meaning it would be the idea. I would hope everybody would, students included, particularly high school students who might be a different place to understand this, would know these three purposes, these 5 values, these 5 skill sets, these 2 aspirations, that you could stop any student or faculty or staff member this time next year, and they're like, oh yeah, I know it. And I know these are the ones we're doing well at, and I know these are the ones we need to work harder at. Students are tricky, I'll just say, because as you know, there's students who need to work harder, and there's students that need to take more breaks. And we got to figure out how to make that happen.
Yeah. Yeah. Board Member O'Brien Hart.
I can definitely, well, one, I like it. All the language is really nice. I like the balance between, care of the community, self-care. I like the aspect of, like, it's not college prep. It's definitely preparation just for being a lifelong learner, almost. I think I can totally see that North Star is a great idea. And as an educator myself, I like promise, because when I look at it, if I was coming into the district and being hired, I think I would think, this is what I'm promising to do. Like, this is what I'm buying into. North Star is good too. Like, it's something that I could totally achieve, right? But it seems like as a title, it might recruit everybody to be equally committed to the goal. But again, whatever we call it, I do appreciate the hard work that went into it. So thank you.
Yeah, Board Member Jameson.
Yeah, so I like this whole thing, and I will leave the wordsmithing to people who are better at it than I am. I was particularly, I'm very one-track mind, but I really liked the data that you talked about, particularly around, it's not behavior, but like the community vibes. Because I liked that it had a really good combination of qualitative and quantitative data, particularly all the behavior data that we already collect, and then also the student feedback. I think that was really well designed to get at what you're trying to measure, and I like that.
Did we receive student feedback?
No, Maggie, I'm talking about how when he did the presentation, he talked about how they're going to measure things. He listed all of those pieces for like how you're going to measure to make sure that these things are happening.
Okay. The domains, yep.
Moving forward.
Got it. Maggie. Moving on, I think I implore board members to kind of get this into our community, our constituents, speak about it, get people's feedback. That's kind of where my feedback was, because it was a little bit more like, what is it you're promising to do this? Oh my goodness, it's a more of a a real kind of in stone. I think it's one of those things of like what this is, and it is a mission and value statement. It is mission, it is in policy, there's a mission policy that we can revise. I think we can adopt this and then put it into policy. It's not that it has to go into policy first. We're doing the first and second read kind of essentially now, and then we'll find a place to adapt it and revise in policy. But I really ask that our student board member, council, just kind of get this out into the public and get feedback on it. And we expect to vote on this in October, at our next meeting on the 7th, and then we have another board meeting on the 28th, depending on feedback. So that's my ask. Yeah, thank you for all the work. It's really great. Maybe get it up on the website so it can be looked at. You can tell it's been distilled into something that's had a lot of thought that has gone into it. Anything else, anybody? Nope. Okay, upcoming meetings. I believe we have a budget meeting coming up in October, and other committee heads start to schedule your meetings just so we can get them on the books for the end of the year for 2025. Our next meeting is the 7th. Policies chugging away. Their next meeting is the September 29th at the SAU. Any public comments this evening? Any public comments by the public? All right, thank you. Welcome.
I just want a little bit of clarity with the 3 students that were voted on tonight, because last year we ran into issues where money was deducted because students transferring out of district. So essentially, are these 3 students going through the school year unfunded, or are, because the comment was made little to no impact? And when we started the budget season, I think the average was just over $20,000 per student. So I guess how, if the students' parents are moving out, how are these 3 students accounted for on the funding part?
Good question. And to be clear about cases where we do lose funding, if we have a Somersworth family decide to send their students somewhere else, we lose the allocation that they would have gotten, we would have gotten from the state with their enrollment. That part's pretty clear. There are cases too where a student can request a manifest educational hardship or best interest transfer, where if granted, we're obligated to pay tuition for them to attend another school. That happens rarely. Most school districts, when you have a student on the cusp of graduation and family moves out of district, will grant a best interest transfer, ability to stay in. There's no real marginal cost to an additional student staying in a high school of 400 students. If we have 401 or 400 or 399, there's really no marginal cost. And they continue to be enrolled here, so we actually get the state funding from them. We do not get funding for foreign exchange students. They're not residents of Somersworth. So basically, that's a decision to make for the best interest of the school, and a philosophical one that most school districts, I think, fairly, particularly ones that maybe appreciate the diversity of having different perspectives brought in, they don't bring funding, but they have close to no impact on costs.
And then does the school district receive any funding from the school district that this student would have gone to?
The
Like their
first
parents-
student that...
Correct. Their parents moved to a different school district. Do we get any funding from them?
No, because what would happen in most of those scenarios, if that happened to us, where if, let's say, a family lived in Rochester, I'm going to make up the towns here, and they were doing the opposite and basically said, we're moving to Somersworth, but we have a senior at Spalding High School. Can they finish their time out at Spalding High School? Spalding would either say, yes, that's fine, board signs off on it, no big deal. If they said, they could say, no, you're going to need to request a best interest transfer from Somersworth, because now you're a Somersworth resident, and ask us to pay their tuition to go back to Spalding High School, to which we would say no, because there is not a compelling interest to ask the taxpayers of Somersworth to pay to Rochester to have them finish there. So it's typically a courtesy that makes sense between districts in a surrounding area to do what's in the best interest of kids that really doesn't impact cost in any way. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah.
I just want to say really quick, Ethan, thank you for your question, but also it's not the whole family, correct? It's just a senior that's staying?
I don't want to get too specific, but it was a situation, where a family was leaving the district and had only asked for
We
the
need
student
specifics,
close to
yeah.
graduation to be able to finish here.
We need and we receive specifics. They should not be public right now. Yeah.
Anyone else? Welcome. Thank you for being here. It's nice not to see just all empty chairs. We do not have non-public this evening. We just need a motion to adjourn. Oh, sorry.
I need to
Board-
bring us into non-public.
Oh, okay. Under what?
And we still have comments by board members.
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Sorry, I went too quick. I apologize. Yes, of course, comments by board members always, or anyone else. Any comments by board members? Board member Clark?
This is not the Carrie show.
That's all
Okay.
right. I know.
So sorry. But I did have something, and I wrote something out because I'm very passionate about this.
Okay.
As you all know, like Thursday is the last day that you can put in for your name for anything, for city council, for school board. And I am super passionate about this because I love this city. And I wrote something up. So that's how much I love it. I never do that. So give me just a minute here. But in our community, it's all too common to see empty seats on the school board or city council or races where there's just one person running. At first glance, that may feel good enough, but it means is people don't really have a choice. That means fewer voices, fewer perspectives, and less accountability. Here's why this matters for all of us. When one person runs, we miss a chance to hear different views. That limits how well the board or city council can reflect the needs of students, families, staff, and the city as a whole. Competition encourages responsibility. If there's no challenger, there's less incentive to address our concerns or improve. When people know choices are coming up, they stay more responsive. When community members run, it brings out more people to vote and participate. So when no one runs or when elections are uncontested, it sends a message that the opportunity to impact education or the city isn't available to all. And that erodes trust in our local government. Like, why vote? Why have a vote if no one's gonna? Anyways, so the school board in particular makes big decisions. We budget resources, curriculum, staffing. With more voices and more competition, there's a better chance that those decisions will be smarter, more inclusive, and better suited to what our schools actually need. We're doing a fantastic job, by the way. I just want to add that part. So yes, it's important that people run for these positions, and equally important that people vote, even if there's only one candidate. Because even then, casting your vote or choosing not to, but knowing that you had that chance, send a signal that's what we expect from our schools. When community members step forward, when we vote, we strengthen our schools, we support our families, and we protect what makes our city strong. Let's value contested elections, let's encourage people to run, and let's use our vote to make sure our schools and city reflect all of us. That is all. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? I welcome everyone. I think most people in the audience and around is that even if you don't want to run for school board and have a seat up here, you are welcome at the table. I think I've offered that to most people that have even a slight interest in being involved. You're always welcome at a committee. You're always welcome here. We do respond back, and we don't have to respond back to public comments. It's not a requirement. Sometimes boards don't do that. And you actually have a seat at the table. When we have committee meetings, I will make sure that everyone has a seat at that table and everyone's voices are heard. But I appreciate that, Board Member Clark. I appreciate everyone's time and effort to serve. Is meaningful, and I'm very grateful for it, but we do need more involvement. We implore everyone to get involved. You don't have to be just upset about something. Even if you are, come to the table, and you are welcomed fully from my end as chair. And with that, anything else? Anyone else? Thank you. Okay. With that, we need to go, what's the motion?
Motion to go into non-public per RSA 91A32K.
Okay. Hold on a second. K is JK, consideration of school board entering into a student pupil tuition contract?
Can you keep reading?
Call the pending roll call. K, consideration by a school of entering into a student or pupil tuition contract?
I also see something about negotiations.
Is it the litigation part? I know, I think it's the litigation part. I don't think it's.
He's got negotiation.
Okay.
So I think functionally, because I've looked at this before, when discussing negotiations, it's a non-meeting. So it's not a non-public, it's a non-meeting, because we can speak about negotiations in a non-meeting, just like with anything else. I think the negotiation part was like a pending litigation against us and not union. So if we can, it's kind of an odd thing, because when we speak about this, we're in an executive session, which we do not do often. Now I'm being really open about what we're doing and how we're doing it, but it would be an executive session. So I think with that, let's change it to E, because K didn't really work, per E, and executive session regarding the SAE contract negotiations, just to kind of put it on the record for that.
Okay.
I think we'll be covered in both arenas.
Okay. All right. So motion to go into non-public per RSA 91A32E.
And for a non-meeting
for
right now for the board, yeah.
For the board.
Yeah, can I have a second on that? Second, wonderful. All in favor? Aye. Okay. Thank you all. Good evening. Good night.